My name is Alfonso Ortega. I'm going to talk about our contribution to this session, grammatical evolution and symbolic regression for astrometric centering of Hubble Space Telescope images. My other co-authors are Ricardo Sarmiento, is one of our students and from my university, la Universidad Internacional de La Rioja, Marina de la Cruz, Alejandro Cervantes y Roberto Baena, and also from a group of astronomers in the States, Girard and Cassetti Dinescu. As all of you probably know, you are familiar with grammatical evolution. Grammatical evolution is just another way of automatically generating program by means of genetic approaches, and it's not the first one attempt. It follows seminal initial Gossa's works on genetic programming, but using context-free grammars to drive the process of mapping from genotype to phenotypes. So the main contribution of the grammatical evolution is the presence of a unspecific module to do this task and to make grammatical evolution non-dependent on the specific language used. But I assume you are familiar with this biological metaphor in which you can see in the central part of the image that the grammar plays the same role than the protein in the natural way of expressing the individuals from the genetic information. And another important characteristic is that grammatical evolution uses vector-like genotypes instead of pre-shaped genotypes. So the mapping process is, resuming this example, starts from the genotype from left to right, consuming a codon each time, and changing the current non-terminal also from left to right, from using a proper right-hand side of the grammar, chosen by a simple operation, in this case by the modules between the actual, the current codon and the possible number of right-hand sides you can use from the non-terminal. So in this example, for example, you can get these expressions from the axiom that is a valid, a syntactically valid expression, mathematical expression. If you finish without a valid genotype, you can use the fitness to remove the individual from other population. And you should use codons with a value large enough to be able to choose among the available right-hand sides, but it is usually use larger values to mimic the process by means in nature genetic diversity is kept. Because there are several possible codons that get the same right-hand side. So this is a typical mechanisms to keep genetic diversity. This mapping is deterministic, as you probably know. As a general conclusion, grammatical evolution can be considered a quite expensive automatic programming approach, because the mapping is itself expensive and it is run as many times as the fitness function. So it is run lots of time, so it increases the computational costs of the experiments. But by the other hand, grammatical evolution is very expressive by at least two main characteristics. One of them is that it's able to generate programs no matter the language used. But the other one that is more important for us is that it is compatible with other semantic extensions, for example, attribute and Christensen grammar evolution. These extensions has been proposed by some of our co-authors are able to include semantic restrictions to be checked before generating a valid individual, a valid phenotype. So you ensure that you are only using both syntactically and semantically correct individuals in your search. But grammatical evolution only makes sense when you have facing a quite hard problem with a quite huge search space. In other cases, it's better to use another approach, even inside of genetical approaches. Talking about specifically our problem, we are facing a problem in astrometry. Astrometry is just an area of astronomy, and astronomy is just a field of physics. And one of the most important tasks done in these domains are the proposal of mathematical models to catch the semantics of the complex phenomena. Deep learning is currently, everybody agrees that is currently the state of the art of machine learning. But deep learning usually lacks of explanation. And even if it is being used in this area, astronomer needs comprehensible results for them. So they need to get, in the best case, analytical expressions because they are really aiming to discover new knowledge about the phenomena. And deep learning usually mimics the way in which the experts solve problems, but lacks of explanation about how they solve the problems. So symbolic regression is more and more used in this area, both from evolutionary approach, but also from conventional approaches. Specifically, the problem we are facing is the location as accurately as possible of the center of the stars inside the pixel of the sensor in the camera of the Hubble Space Telescope. This sensor has different regions, and we are interested in the one that you can see in this yellow rectangle. Even focusing in this area, there are two different parts in this sensor that are respectively named PC and WF. The problem is interesting in the following sense. Everybody knows which is the pixel in which the center of the star lies, but it is tough to find the millipixel between the millipixel inside the pixel in which the center is. And this is a quite relevant information for the astronomer because what is for us a millipixel, for astronomer is a big amount of, it's a big distance. So it's very, very, very important to be accurate figuring out the exact millipixel inside the pixel in which the center of the star is. One of the mathematical tools mostly used by astronomers for this task is what is called PSFs, or point spread functions, that are, as you can see here, three-dimensional models for how the light spreads on the sensor. You can imagine here that in the top of this pyramid is the center of the star, and the light spreads in this way in the sensor. More intense light in the center of the area, and less intensive as you go further from the center. A particular question in this domain is that it is quite tough to have labeled datasets to run supervised machine learning experiments, because the problem itself is to find the position of the star. There are few datasets that with this information, and they are mainly solved by hand by the astronomer. To generate the amount of datasets needed for real machine learning purposes, the astronomers are actually using simulation. They deduce the position of the center of the star from these PSFs. These PSFs are compatible with the real images, but most of the datasets used in this domain are synthetic. The state of the art of the area, you can find these references also in the paper. shows how these approaches depends on two main things. One of them is the software used to simulate the PSFs, and the other is the mechanisms to find the central position of the star inside the PCF. You can see here classical approaches to do that, and you can see here highlighted the different options for both parts of the technology. This is the way in which usually the accuracy of the models are shown, and it allows to compare one with each other. Here you can see the charts that show the deviation in both coordinates, x and y, of the predicted center of the star with respect to the real one. The real one lies in the central line, so anything that is not on the line is that's an error. This is the same way in which we will express our accuracy in the next slides. One of the relevant reference I would like to highlight is one of the first attempts to use deep learning in this domain that was also done by some of our co-authors, in particular Roberto Baena and the astronomer from the American group. In this work, in this contribution, these researchers use deep learning and specific architecture to learn how to predict the center. But as I explained before, this approach lacks of explanations. They are not able to get a specific analytical expression, but only to predict the position from an image. This is the experiment they have performed. But you can see in the reference, they get better results than the state-of-the-art approaches for this task, just locating the position of the center of the star. Which is our proposal, and where we could consider we are improving the state-of-the-art of the software in the domain. We know that this is just a proof of concept. This contribution I am talking about. The proof of concept aims to check if grammatical evolution, being an expensive approach, is or not as applicable as other approaches to this problem. So we try to follow a path from the simplest case, giving steps with more difficulty progressively. So in this first proof of concept, we know that we are not taking advantage of the full expressive power of grammatical evolution. But we aim only to check if we can design an architecture to make grammatical evolution run on this problem and to get similar results to those produced by the state-of-the-art approaches. Our hypothesis is that it is applicable as others, and in the future we are currently running experiments with more difficult scenarios, and we are getting good results. So we think that we are in the right path, and we are optimistic because we think that in the next couple of months we will get real improvement on the state of the art of the software of the domain. But one of the things we can get from the beginning and from the design of the grammatical evolution itself approach is that we can provide the community with analytical expressions in addition to the position of the center of the star. This is quite important and quite relevant for the astronomer. In the further research line section, I will try to explain why we are so optimistic about the improvement in the state-of-the-art software of the domain in the next couple months. Technologically speaking, at this moment we have chosen Pony GE2 because you can here find in this link the repository, because it is open source and Python supported. And as I explained before, we would like to extend this model with semantic extensions, and we would like to take advantage of the huge amount of libraries provided by the community in Python, in Python, in Python development, in the development of software by means of Python. Which are our experiments? In fact, we are only evolving the coefficients of some predefined expressions. This expression has been suggested by the astronomer of the group. They suggested that we should start by two families of functions, Gaussians, PSFs, and Moffat PSFs. For both of them, we should consider two variants, circular and elliptical. So in the next slides, you will see both the expressions of the PSFs, the three-dimensional shape, and also the grammar we have used, written in Python in the configuration files for the platform. So this is for circular Gaussian. You can see here the parameters, the coefficients we have evolved, and the shape. This is the grammar. This is the elliptical Gaussian. You can see that the section is elliptical instead of circular. It has more parameters. This is the grammar that is slightly more complicated. And this is the Moffat family. You can see here that it's slightly different from Gaussian. The circular one with its parameters, its grammar, and also the elliptical one, its shape, its parameters, its grammar. And you can see here the bidimensional projection of these PSFs to highlight the differences between them. In the first row, you can see ellipticals, and in the second row, circular. You can see here that circular are quite symmetrical, and they are not so symmetric in the case of the elliptical one. And the first column is for Gaussian, and the second for Moffat. You can see also that the behavior is different. This is an example of the expressions we get. You can see here that all the expressions share the same structure because we are only evolving the coefficients. This is the position we get from this expression after 10 generations. This is the real image with the real, taking into account that the real is a synthesized image, as I have explained before. But you can see how we get a position that only differs in 27 millipixels in the distance from the predicted one and the real one. As in any other machine learning or genetic experiment, we have tuned the hyperparameters group in 5 sets. You can see here the typical graphs in which the error decreases with the number of generations. And after a couple of proofs, we have chosen or found that the best distance function for us were Pearson and Manhattan. And these are you can find further more detailed explanation in the paper, the value of the other hyperparameters, generation, collision, initialization type, and so on. Our conclusion is that, in general, elliptical Moffat is best. In the PC area of the sensor with Pearson distance, and in the other with Manhattan distance. Here you have another example of this of the function we have evolved, and the position of the real center and the predicted one with the precision in this case of 34, sorry, 34 millipixels. And there are some observations that has to be done. Astronomers warn us about this circumstance. It is well known by them that neither Gaussian nor Moffat functions are the best one to get a specific center position. So even in the best case, we will get some unexpected behavior regarding the performance of the model. You can see here both. Uh, you can see here in the two first column the typical deviation from both coordinates. In the first column, the x, and in the second, the y. But there is another typical way of showing the results. That is like a target, mixing both coordinates and knowing that the real center is in the center of the cross. So you can see here, in addition to the error we get, that is shown in this graph, that we have some bias in the first row from a bias to the first quadrant of the target, and in the second row we have some bias to the fourth quadrant. In the experiments we are running right now, I am running an experiment in the other computer at this moment. We are getting better results and we are reducing this bias. Our conclusion is that this is the kind of error we could get from the use of Gaussian and Moffat functions that are a bad option, a reasonable family of functions, but a bad option to get an accurate position of the center. This is the conclusion of the astronomer. So our current experiments goes in this direction. So everything seems to be under control. In the future, we will run experiments with more flexible expressions. We try to let grammar evolution evolve without a fixed form of the expression. As you can imagine, and I think you are familiar with this question, we have to choose basic blocks to generate our expressions that ensure that we are able to generate varied PSFs. But I would like to describe with a little more detail a specific question important to this problem. This is the following. You can see here in any image of the PSFs that there are a dark part of the image that astronomer knows that has a quite different behavior comparing with the more clear part of the image. Around the center, PSF is a good approach. So you should evolve expression that mix different families usually used to describe PSFs. But in the dark side, there is the other sources of light, because you can find here some noise from other stars and things like that. And it is well known that for getting a complete model, you should change the shape of the function in this dark side of the sensor. So for grammar evolution, it's quite easy to programmatically design an scheme function that distinguishes between one expression or another from a given radio on. So grammar evolution seems to be the right choice for this problem. And in the next experiments, when we finish the current one, we think that we will be able to improve the state of the art of the software available right now. That's all. Thank you very much for your attention, and thanks again for letting me explain our contribution in this way. I can hear you. I don't know if you are talking to me. Levin, it seems that you're mute.
Yeah, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Mhm. So do you have any question from the audience for this paper? Yeah.
Hi, Bill Langdon. I wondered, could you contrast the results you were getting with grammatical evolution versus the results, your earlier results with deep learning? Did you find that they were more or less accurate? They're obviously more interpretable, but in terms of performance, was there a big difference?
Your question is a comparison between I understand that between deep learning from our co-authors and this new attempt with grammar evolution, right, Bill?
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. One of the explanations that the astronomer gave us was that in deep learning, in the deep learning case, they are learning from the dataset without any previous assumption about the shape of the function. So we are limited by Moffat and Gaussian structure. And the astronomer were waiting for a accuracy similar to the one we got. But they also know that the accuracy of the deep learning approach is greater because they are not limited by this function. But we are in a range and in unacceptable range of accuracy comparing with other experiments that use this same Moffat and Gaussian functions. And in our current experiments, the accuracy is going closer to that of deep learning as we are flexibilizing, making more flexible the structure of the function used. I don't know if I answered your question, Bill.
Yeah, so essentially they're comparable, but your approach is much easier to interpret.
Yeah, the deep learning approach is not interpretable at all because they only get the position, not no expression about the the way in which the position is estimated. So it's a quite different approach. You get maximum accuracy, but maximum opacity. And with genetic approaches, even if you were using genetic programming, for example, you will get an analytical expression. So by design, deep learning is opaque, and grammar evolution is interpretable. It's one of the you know that at this moment, the area of machine learning that takes account of the explanation is explicable artificial intelligence. And evolutionary approaches like grammar evolution are considered as one of the most interpretable one. So this is I encourage the audience to focus on this domain in which deep learning is the state of the art of machine learning, because if the researcher needs some explanation, evolutionary approaches are a good election in these domains.
Thank you, Alfonso.